The 2026 FIFA World Cup was supposed to be the greatest celebration football has ever seen. 48 nations, 3 countries, 16 cities, 104 matches. This was the tournament that was going to bring the world together on North American soil for the first time in 32 years. And in many ways, it has already started with some genuinely stunning moments. Mexico kicked off the entire tournament at the legendary Azteca Stadium, and the atmosphere was electric. 60,000 people packed that historic arena, waving flags, singing songs, and celebrating a 2-0 win over South Africa. Then, the United States took the field on June 12th, and striker Folarin Balogun scored twice in the first half to help the USMNT demolish Paraguay 4-1 in a statement performance that shocked even the biggest optimists. By the time Gio Reyna hammered in a 4th goal in stoppage time, it looked like the perfect start. But here's the thing. Behind all of that celebration, behind the goals and the excitement, something else was quietly unfolding. Something that the cameras didn't always zoom in on. Something that has supporters, commentators, and football insiders asking some very uncomfortable questions about the direction this tournament is heading. Empty seats, expensive tickets, and some very frustrated fans. So what is actually going on at FIFA World Cup 2026? And is this a genuine problem or just growing pains from the biggest tournament ever staged? Let's start at the beginning, because context here really matters. The 2026 World Cup was always going to be a logistical challenge unlike anything football had ever attempted. Spreading 104 matches across the United States, Canada, and Mexico meant enormous distances, multiple time zones, different visa requirements, and wildly varying costs depending on which city you were traveling to. FIFA knew this going in. The expanded format, featuring 48 teams for the first time, was designed to bring in more nations, more fans from more corners of the world, and ultimately more revenue. The thinking was straightforward: more matches, more excitement, more money. But more matches also means more seats to fill, and filling those seats has turned out to be far more complicated than anyone at FIFA headquarters seemed to anticipate. The opening day, June 11th, gave us 2 matches: Mexico versus South Africa at the Azteca in Mexico City, and South Korea versus Czechia in Guadalajara. The Azteca was a sellout. The noise, the color, the passion, everything you'd expect from a Mexican crowd at a World Cup on home soil was fully present. It was breathtaking. But in Guadalajara, the story was different. Despite official attendance figures claiming the 46,000-seat stadium was nearly full, the television broadcast told another story. Rows of empty seats were visible throughout the match, not just a handful, rows. The kind of visual that once you've seen it is very difficult to unsee. And it didn't get better from there. Here's where things get really interesting. When June 12th arrived and the United States prepared to take on Paraguay at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, the football world expected a sellout. This was a co-host nation. This was Los Angeles. This was one of the most high-profile matches of the entire group stage. SoFi Stadium, one of the most modern and impressive venues in North American sport, was hosting the USMNT's first World Cup home match in over 3 decades. And with just days before kickoff, tickets were still unsold. Reports from FIFA's own ticketing website confirmed that as of a few days before the match, there were still around 132 official tickets available through FIFA's portal. But the real picture was even striking. When you included FIFA's own resale marketplace, along with platforms like StubHub and SeatGeek, thousands of tickets were still floating around with no buyers. So why weren't fans buying? The prices. FIFA dramatically increased ticket prices for this tournament compared to previous World Cups. The cheapest available tickets for the USA versus Paraguay match were priced at $1,120. Not the cheapest seat in the stadium, the cheapest available ticket on the open market. The most expensive regular seats were going for $2,735. To put that in perspective, that figure is actually higher than what tickets were selling for at the 2022 World Cup final in Qatar. For a group stage opener against Paraguay. The reaction from fans was immediate and it was fierce. Social media lit up. Football supporters groups started circulating comparisons. One that gained a lot of traction pointed out that the $1,120 minimum you need to spend to attend the USA's World Cup opener could alternatively buy you a full season of tickets at clubs like Manchester United or Real Madrid. Even U.S. President Donald Trump weighed in when asked about attending the match, famously saying he'd love to be there, but he wouldn't pay those prices either. When the sitting American president publicly says he wouldn't buy a ticket to watch his own country's World Cup opener, it tells you something. And this wasn't just a U.S. problem. Canada's opening match against Bosnia and Herzegovina in Toronto on the same day had even more unsold tickets through FIFA's website, with reports suggesting over 200 tickets still available through official channels and a far higher number through resale platforms. But there's another angle to this that goes deeper than just high prices. Football has always had a ticketing problem at major tournaments. Empty seats at World Cups aren't entirely new. We saw it in Brazil 2014, we saw it in Russia 2018, we've seen it at Copa Americas and Euros too. Corporate hospitality, ticket allocations to national football associations, packages that get bought and left unused, these are systemic issues that FIFA has been criticized for managing poorly for years. What makes 2026 different is the scale. When you have 104 matches to fill across 3 countries, the challenge isn't just selling out the 10 or 12 headline games. It's filling seats in cities where neither team playing has any significant local following. It's convincing a family of 4 in Seattle or Dallas to spend thousands of dollars on flights, hotels, and tickets for a group stage match between 2 nations they may have minimal connection to. And FIFA's variable pricing model, introduced for this tournament, was supposed to be the solution. The idea was elegant on paper. In-demand matches would cost more, lower-profile matches would be more affordable. Supply and demand would sort it out. In theory, that sounds fair. In practice, what it's created is a situation where the high-profile matches, the ones fans most want to attend, have been priced so aggressively that even genuine supporters are being priced out, and some of the lower-profile matches struggle to generate any organic demand at all. For comparison, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar saw ticket prices that, while still expensive for global standards, were more structured in a way that allowed supporters from all over the world to plan their budgets. The tournament was geographically compact. Everything was within a short commute. That made it easier for traveling fans to attend multiple games. In North America, the distances involved are enormous. Attending 3 group stage matches of a single team could require flights across the continent, multiple hotel bookings in different cities, and car rentals or complex transport logistics, on top of already steep ticket prices. The financial barrier isn't just the ticket, it's everything around it. Think about what this means for the players and fans who are actually inside those stadiums. Players feed off atmosphere. Football at its best is a conversation between what's happening on the pitch and what's happening in the stands. When Folarin Balogun scored his first goal against Paraguay and the crowd at SoFi erupted, you could feel it through the broadcast. That energy is irreplaceable. It matters to results. It matters to memories. But when rows of seats sit empty during a World Cup, something is lost. The spectacle diminishes. Players in less high-profile matches, many of whom have worked their entire careers for this moment, run out onto a World Cup pitch and face an atmosphere that doesn't quite match the magnitude of what they're experiencing. For fans who did manage to find their way into these games, particularly traveling supporters who saved for months, planned their trips meticulously, and made genuine sacrifices to be there, the empty seats around them can feel like a statement. Like the tournament has prioritized revenue over the actual community of football. Social media posts from fans inside the Guadalajara Stadium during the South Korea versus Czechia match captured this tension perfectly. The football was good. South Korea came from behind to win 2-1 in an exciting encounter. But the visuals of empty sections in an international stadium hosting a World Cup match kept surfacing. And once those images circulate, they shape the narrative whether FIFA wants them to or not. So what happens next? and what might FIFA do about it? In the short term, the most likely outcome is that prices on the secondary market continue to drop for lower-profile group stage matches, as sellers realize there simply isn't enough demand at current price points. We've already seen evidence of this, with some tickets being listed below FIFA's own face value on certain platforms, a fairly unusual situation for a World Cup. There are also conversations, reportedly, between fan groups and football associations about the pricing structure. England's Football Association, for instance, has been reported to be preparing formal concerns for FIFA about what supporters groups have described as outrageous pricing levels, particularly for later rounds. FIFA, for its part, has so far maintained that the tournament is on track and that demand remains strong. Gianni Infantino and FIFA leadership have not publicly addressed the empty seat concerns in any meaningful way. The organization's official position appears to be that any visible gaps will fill as the tournament progresses and the knockout stages approach. That's plausible. Semifinals and finals at major tournaments almost always reach capacity, regardless of price, because the spectacle at that level transcends even the most painful ticket costs. The concern isn't what happens in the final at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on July 19th. That will be packed. That will be incredible. The concern is what the next few weeks of group stage football look like in cities like Seattle, Houston, and Kansas City, where some matches will feature nations with limited North American followings and where local organic interest may not be strong enough to overcome the pricing barrier. The best realistic scenario is that FIFA makes quiet adjustments, allows more last-minute ticket releases, softens its stance on resale pricing floors, and the visual of empty seats becomes a minor footnote in an otherwise spectacular tournament. The more difficult scenario is that the empty seat story continues to generate headlines throughout the group stage, overshadowing some of the football itself, and creates a PR challenge that follows this tournament into its later rounds and ultimately shapes how FIFA 26 is remembered. Here's where we land. The football itself, in just 2 days, has already delivered. Mexico winning their opener at the Azteca, South Korea's comeback win over Czechia, the USA's stunning 4-1 demolition of Paraguay, a result that nobody quite expected to be so one-sided, and which announced this USMTN as a team that could genuinely make a deep run in this tournament. 3 red cards in the opening match, own goals, last-minute strikes, drama from the very first whistle. The actual football is delivering everything the sport can offer, but the infrastructure around that football, the ticket pricing, the empty seats in some venues, the questions about accessibility and fairness, is creating a conversation that won't go away quickly. And it's a conversation that matters because the World Cup isn't just a business event, it's a cultural moment. It belongs to fans. And when fans are locked out by price, something important shifts. What do you think? Is FIFA's pricing model at the 2026 World Cup fair, or has it gone too far? And does seeing empty seats in a World Cup stadium change how you feel about the tournament? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is one of those conversations where your perspective genuinely matters. If you're following FIFA 26 closely and want more analysis, breakdowns, and reaction as the group stage unfolds, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. This story is still developing, the football keeps coming, and as always, the World Cup never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.